Hello, everybody. Dale King here with the Dale King Show, and we're continuing with the Beyond Limits series. And I've got really a colleague and an old time friend. Really, I consider Mike a friend from back in the aerospace days. His name is Mike Marzetta, and he is the president of Altek in Spokane, Washington. And Altek is a contract manufacturing organization. It was founded in 1976. And Mike is actually a second generation owner because his father actually started the company in their garage.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I was 6 years old, and my dad actually worked over in for Columbia Lighting, and it was union, and he just hated the union, and so decided to start his own business in our garage, and so it was just a tool making business back then. A couple Bridgeports, some grinders, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice.
And yeah, it was always interesting because he'd drag metal chips into the house. And we had the deep the deep dish carpet back then, and
Right, right.
yeah, so I learned not to walk around in bare feet. After a couple, I got one big gnarly one about that big that went in probably a quarter inch, and it had like burrs on it. That's when I decided not to go barefoot
We're not doing
anymore.
barefoot anymore in the house.
No, and that took a little time to get that out with the burrs.
Right. How many
But
employees do you have right now?
we're about close to 200 plus or
Right.
minus.
So, you guys are a great story. Altech is a great story to me because I'm always encouraging people, get a side gig, do something that you want to do that's outside of your regular work. And, your family pulled it off. And even if you had to wear shoes in the house, but, it's a great story. About how your dad started it and you took it over now as the president. And folks, Mike holds a master's in organizational development from the University of Minnesota and is a founding member and currently serves on the board of directors of the Northwest I-90 Manufacturing Alliance. And I know he's been collaborating with his local manufacturers there in Spokane for many years. And it's quite a community of manufacturers in Spokane. I've always been impressed with the connection between the various manufacturers. But then there's also where his company's primary focus is around core competencies in plastic injection molding, machining, and assembly. And so, they have served many clients in the high tech sectors of aerospace, medical, and industrial device sectors. And so they stay pretty busy and they're pretty assertive. And, they've always been around and been great thought leaders in the industry. Something I'm really kind of excited about talking about today too is the company that Mike started with his wife Christy called Mind's Eye, and we'll have information here down below. But Mind's Eye Robotics Education, and it's a high performance robotics system that empowers STEM educators and their students to create autonomous inventions of their own design. Mike, I think that's a pretty timely endeavor, and I know you've been really doing the mind's eye work for some years now. So you want to speak to that a little bit, and then I want to circle back and talk about your start in with college and a bit of your journey there, and we'll take it away. Go ahead, Mike. Tell us about
Cool.
Mind's Eye.
Yeah, it's probably worth diving into the origins of Mind's Eye. It really started, you know, quite a few years ago. My wife and I sat down and took a number of months trying to define, I guess, our core values, what we wanted to do with our lives,
Oh,
who we
good.
wanted to be. And after a number of, we started with a list about that long and narrowed it down after a number of months into just two, and that is make a difference in the world and have fun doing it. And so after that, we're like, okay, how can we do that? And so he started with another list this big and then narrowed it
Right.
down. And Mind's Eye kind of rose to the top. There's a obvious connection with Altek. We manufacture everything that isn't electronic here at Altek. So there was some nice synergies there between the mothership. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've definitely checked the fun box. We've got thousands of kits out there. I feel like we're starting to make a difference, but The education robotics construction system market is probably 90% owned by Lego Education and a company called Vex. And then there's a whole bunch of other people that make up maybe a very small piece of it. And we're really working to break the glass ceiling, and we want to be top three. I'd be okay with top three.
Yeah, I've been through
The
your mad scientist room with some of the toys you got on the shelves, and I know a lot of that's not ready for market yet, but maybe
Oh,
we'll
it's all ready
circle
for
back around
market.
on that someday.
It's all ready for market
Oh, nice. Very good. Good. Well, I know
as
you've
of
got
as of last week.
well, why don't you've got something there on your desk. What'd you bring to show us on the show here today?
This one.
Yeah,
So this is our newest product we're just launching, and all these come with curriculums, like online curriculums and stuff like that that are interactive with videos. So we try to make our online curriculums as self-explanatory as possible, along with the directions and stuff. But the students build this, obviously, and our parts are unique in that they stay together. We have a quick lock system that you can does joints as well as um,
nice.
construction uh, stiff angles, and we've just got a little tool that removes that real quick,
Very
and
good.
that's what the
How nice.
the patented technology looks like. It's just a
Just a
thing that
clip in.
squeezes in,
Nice.
and then if you can see, they have
Nice.
those ridges in there, so you can achieve
Right.
different
Oh yeah, I
angles
can see that.
like
You
that.
bet.
And so it's kind of like taking the best of like an erector set, because it's sturdy, but I don't have to sit there and give myself carpal tunnel disease with all the screws and bolts. It's really quick,
Right.
um,
Right.
and it stays together. And so this is our latest product. It's a um, self-driving tractor. This one's got a spray trailer on it, and yeah, it's
Can you
pretty
pull it over
simple.
here by the camera so we can get a
Oh,
closer
sure.
look?
Yeah, here, let me unhook the trailer.
Yeah, you were telling me about this the other day. I'm dying to see this.
Yeah, and this runs off of RTK GPS, which is the stuff the John Deere's and stuff use that for really high precision. It holds about two
Right.
centimeter precision on a GPS line, and we've got a program, and you go in and program swath paths and things like that. It's got a little obstacle sensor in the front where it'll stop, and then you have to restart it once you've removed the obstacle, or I can drive it around the obstacle. It's got scissor steer, just like real tractors. Um,
Nice.
got slip differentials, so and I got it's all four-wheel drive, very torquey.
Nice.
And probably the coolest thing about it is you go on and program the path, just making lines and waypoints in the um, tractor program with a you got a backdrop of your
Right.
field through like Google Maps, and you
Right.
lay out your path, and it'll follow that path with 2 centimeter precision, which is quite impressive. We achieved that through RTK GPS, which is like a it's GPS that's augmented, and
Right.
there's a whole bunch of other technologies that keep it going straight and self-correcting and everything like that. But took us about 2.5 years to. They don't have a book on self-driving, and you can't just go buy a $500,000 John Deere tractor and download the program.
Right.
So it did take quite a bit of time to figure that out. It's people that are good at the self-driving keep it a pretty well guarded secret, because
Right.
that's a emerging market as
It
as
is an
as you know.
emerging market. Well, I know you've been. I'm kind of intrigued because it seems like the mind's eye is a coming together of your manufacturing. I know you've had an ongoing interest in the unmanned vehicles, and actually in aviation as well. There's a lot of development there. You're involved in some pretty interesting things there, and then you're dealing with the remotes, controls, et cetera. And STEM, and so you're bringing together three really interesting areas that are so important, to see them come together in such a way that's meaningful for the generation that's learning from you. Do you actually teach any classes on STEM or the robotics or manufacturing design, your innovative
Yeah,
process?
all of the all of our labs, like we've got a drone lab over here. This is a Mars rover lab, so that's actually written from the perspective of the whole history of the Mars rover program from the
Right,
Sovereign up until today, and not just the history, but the technological history, all the advances they've made uh, along the years from the many different
right,
Mars rovers they've sent up there. And so, yeah, all those curriculums are online. You could technically, if you wanted to, you could buy the kit without the curriculum, but it's not really, 99% of the customers do the
right.
online curriculum, and it walks them through not just the code, but the science, the
Right.
history, the theory
Well,
behind everything, dives pretty
right,
deep.
right, right. Well, and to see innovation packaged up, put in a way that people can get their hands on it so they can actually learn and then actually continue to develop, because I know that's a passion for you to see, where we're going to be in 10 to 15, 20 years with the technologies that we're using now. How many of them will be retired and how many of them will just be improved upon, and we just keep advancing. So, that's pretty exciting, Mike.
Thank you.
And you
It's
said
been a
Christy
lot of
was
fun.
involved. This is a
Yeah,
passion business with the two of you. Yeah, that's a great story. I love these businesses that, the couple are in it together and they're doing things that they care about and they are intentional, not just chasing after markets, but it's like, what do we want to do? We can do what we want, and let's
yeah.
go do something meaningful in the world and have fun doing it, which is, I think, a key to business today. Is like we got to be having fun, folks. So we got to live this life to its fullest. So
Life's
that's
too
really
short
terrific.
to not enjoy what you're doing.
So with Christy, is she also a technologist like you, or is she a
She's
visionary for
more of
you?
a administrator, and we offset yin and yang pretty well. I'm not a big detail guy, so she's really
Gotcha.
good at keeping track of all the details while I'm coming up with big ideas that are going to take us 2 years to figure out.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Well, you like those. I mean, that's one thing I've learned about you is you're in it to do it and you like it. So you're always moving through it. So, well, hey, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk little about your college career and how you chose a very interesting major. Maybe you could touch on that. And it seems like, your interest there in organizational development has played a role in even your college career and then certainly running Altech.
yeah, I kind of lucked out on that one in a funny way because I was doing college sports wrestling, at University of Minnesota, two a day every day, the Minnesota way, two practices a day.
Nice.
So, your grades did tend to suffer a little bit. And so, especially, traveling, you're cutting weight, you're going to tournaments, missing class because you're out of town. And yeah, the prerequisites were like too high for engineering and the School of Business. And just out of coincidence, they happen to have like the top ranked organization, human and organization development program at Minnesota, like in the country. And
Very good.
they didn't have all the tough prerequisites and everything. And so I was like, oh, I'll go that direction. And it ended up being a really good accident because, well, I got to take all the engineering and business classes I wanted because organization development is very holistic. And actually, I had you write your own degree and everything. And I was really into, you know, manufacturing and continuous
Right.
improvement, continuous quality improvement and stuff. So I really just got to take all the classes I wanted and skip all the classes I didn't want to take from kind of anywhere in the university.
Nice.
Um, and so, and it exposed me to some things that probably wouldn't have come natural to me. I mean, I'm kind of just a natural born techie, but, you know, bringing in the organization culture, organization dynamics, organization design, organization learning,
Nice.
teamwork, development, things like that were a big part of the organization development degree, which I probably wouldn't have had formal exposure to had I went another route like business
Right.
or engineering. So ended up being one of those good accidents, I
Well, and you
suppose.
mentioned right, and you mentioned team building, and it seems you put that to work while you're there in college
Yeah, yeah,
with your wrestling team. Yeah.
yeah. Probably most of my team building stuff comes from sports. I've been kind of a sportster since since I could walk, and just been on a lot of teams. Been on teams that were full of good athletes but had no teamwork. I've
Mm,
been on teams
right.
that didn't have very good athletes, but just you had the bond, the
Right.
glue, the cohesiveness, and some teams that were really performed well. And yeah, I learned a lot of that throughout my college career. And I remember, and one of the only classes I got a B in my degree was a team building class. And this gal, PhD, we're probably three-quarters into the class, and she's teaching us about mission and vision and the four stages of team development and stuff. And I'm like, Mrs. What's her name? And she's like, yes. I'm like, when do we get to the team part? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the team part, like the camaraderie, one for
Right.
one, all for, it's like I take a bullet for you and I'll jump on a hand grenade if to save my squad. And she's like, and she was just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I'm like,
Right.
I mean, all these you're talking about, these are just tools. Where's and everything. And she ended up
Right.
giving me a B in the class. Apparently, she didn't like my attitude much, but if you haven't been on a, high level sports team, you might not ever have experienced that.
Right.
And
Right.
the different feeling. It it's a lot different
Mm,
than American corporate culture. I mean, if you look at
right.
those guys in the Super Bowl or any championship team with the tears running down their eyes and how much they love everybody and this,
Right.
they always say the same thing, all of them. And they're not crying because they got a bonus. Well, the
Right.
college guys don't get any bonus at all. They're
Right.
crying because there's real love there.
Right.
That's almost
Right.
a prerequisite to win a championship. You got to have the love.
No, that's really good.
You got to have the love before the championship. You don't get the
Mm.
championship and then everybody loves everybody. It's the other way around.
I think about the term "band of brothers." It actually comes from Lord Admiral Nelson during the time of Napoleon. The
Oh,
band of brothers, and he was known as an admiral that his captains rallied around. They would do anything for him because they had strict disciplines about strategy, but he gave them the lenience to make a decision that they need to make to take advantage of circumstances that were unforeseen. And so he, yeah, and he would, if he's going to tell you to run and climb the yardarm, he would do it himself as well. I mean, the
yeah,
man lost, one of half of his arm and probably one of, his half of his leg and different things, standing on the bows of ships, leading groups, leading his teams and so to speak, leading his men into battle. And so it's that. But there's actually a woman that was on the ship, just moving, going somewhere, going across this probably the Mediterranean Sea, and she observed these men, and she called them and dubbed them the Band of Brothers because they would come and party on his ship every night or many nights
nice.
and do strategy and party and
Yeah,
just talk about possibilities, and he built a team that really, had brotherly love, where it was like, dude, I got you. I got you covered. I know you got me covered. Let's go win.
yeah,
And it sounds like
yeah.
you had a pretty good hold of that.
You work hard and you play hard, and it's
Yeah.
together. We work
Right.
hard together and we play hard together. And yeah, we definitely played pretty hard in the off season
Right.
back in
Now
the
your
day.
first couple of years, you didn't quite hit the levels of wrestling that you had probably hoped.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sounds
an
like
interesting
you had a
story.
good growing season there.
Yeah, well, coming out of high school, I was only third in state 2A Washington, and there's like 5 divisions. And if you know sports, that's not very good. But
Okay.
well, between my head coach and my mom, they had convinced me that I was way better than I was, and it was
So
a
we all need
fluke
people to
that I
believe in
lost at
us.
state. And I had a couple junior colleges looking at me, but I really wanted to had dreams of wrestling in the Big Ten, and which
Nice.
still dominates the wrestling community. And it was funny. I was talking to one of the guys from North Idaho was trying to recruit me. I hadn't made my mind up. This is about 3 or 4 days after I lost state, so I was in a bad mood.
Right.
And he took about 10 minutes telling me why I wasn't good enough to wrestle Big Ten at Minnesota. And so well, I kind of quickly told him the what for and slammed the phone down and went, "Mom, I'm going to Minnesota." So just like that, decided to go to Minnesota. Minnesota never heard of me. I just walked on. If you know what a walk on is,
Nice.
you just enroll in school and you show up to practice. And we called ahead and said I'd be showing up to practice, and they were encouraging because they get a number of walk-ons per year. It's pretty common in
Sure.
college sports. And yeah, after about the first or second day of practice, I quickly learned that I wasn't quite as good as I thought I was, and wondered what I had gotten myself into. And was by far, probably tied for the worst guy on the team with a couple other walk-ons, maybe. you know,
Sure.
all the other folks from our freshman class were multiple time state champions, all Americans, things like that. And,
Right.
we were just way outclassed. And, yeah, but, that's kind of been a common theme throughout my life. Even before that is to just kind of throw myself in the deep end
Right.
and figure out how to swim real quick or drown. And, if you want to learn something real fast, it's a good strategy. And I was fortunate enough to have one of the assistant coaches, Johnny Johnson, good friend of mine. Still love the guy. Owe him so much.
Very good.
Took me under his wing, and we were putting in extra practices to try to get me caught up and everything. And yeah, later that year, at the third trimester, I took second in freshman nationals, and a few of the other freshmen had washed out because of grades or girlfriends or drinking or something, and so they put me
Right.
on scholarship, and then just kind of went from there. And then
It's really good.
yeah,
On that story of like that mentorship, I really appreciate that. And I had a mentor in high school for soccer, and it changed my game. It changed my life, changed my perspective. And having because I had the talent and the skill, I just needed the coaching, and we
hmm
did some extra coaching like you described, and I was able to make some accomplishments. And I want to also highlight the fact that I remember you responding to one of my posts about mentors and living
yes,
beyond limits. And I thought, man, I think you said something like, if I can't figure something out in a few minutes, I call a mentor.
yeah,
And I'm like,
somebody that's
man,
done
I
it
love
before.
that decisiveness, you know? And it was really good. It was like, I need to start talking, I want to start quoting you on that because it's just like, don't get a mentor after a week of pondering. It's like, I can't figure this
No,
out. It's like, I know I can't figure this out. I'm going to call somebody. And,
yeah, oh, I
and
have
look-
paid mentors today that um, everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and I've got mentors that offset my weaknesses, and I can rely on to for great perspectives. And yeah, I just got used to it through sports, and
right.
you know why it would have taken me well, you probably never would have figured it out on your own, but years through trial and error to, you know, go from a walk on to a Big Ten All
Right.
American.
Right.
And but Johnny, my coach, he had all the shortcuts. And that's
Nice.
not to say it was easy. The
Right.
shortcuts, the path less traveled are the shortcuts.
Right.
Um, so
Well, tell us about your junior year in college and your wrestling career
yeah,
there.
yeah, that was interesting because well, our coach was Jay Robinson, who's a great man. Went on a number of years uh, after I graduated and left the program, and they won a handful of national championships. But I was there
Nice.
uh, Jay's second year of coaching, so we were kind of still the experimental class.
Gotcha.
And Jay was pretty hardcore, and you know, which was kind of the predominant thinking of the time, and kind of a lot of military. He was a Marine earlier on in his career, and yeah, we were losing all our guys, all of our talent, and my was actually the third trimester of my sophomore year, just after nationals. Um,
Right.
we're in spring freestyle, which the coaches can't participate in. So we're in and all the upperclassmen are gone now, and we
Right.
don't have any upperclassmen left hardly. And so I just kind of became team captain,
Right.
and myself and my brother in arms, John Myers.
Very
He
good.
was my teammate, roommate, best friend, and we just kind of came up with the scheme during spring freestyle when the coaches couldn't participate in practice to start
Right.
being cool to each other. I mean, what a concept, because
Right.
at the time
Right.
there was a lot of cliques and different people. There was a lot of rivalry on
Oh,
the
sure.
team and stuff like that. And we were running there was the very military, SEAL Team 6, that there's huge attrition with the freshmen coming in because our job
Right.
when the freshmen came in is to weed out the weak. The problem is we are way too efficient at
Right.
it. And
Right.
so yeah, so we started partying together. The new freshmen came in and we took them under our wing and
Right.
really kind of just changed the team culture into a more positive um, type of thing. And within a year, we had a deep bench. Um, Team improved. Year after I graduated, they beat Iowa and Iowa is like
Nice.
15-time national champs,
Wow.
and with a full squad, deep bench, and yeah, and I really have to commend the coaching staff at the time, to be able to. They're like, look, maybe Marzetta and Myers have something here. Because I mean, and then the coaches started coming to our parties and stuff, and yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Thing that comes to mind here is it's like what an opportunity that opened up for you. But it's like we make our own luck, and you worked hard in your underclassmen years, right? And you were working on your skills and doing the work to just work on your wrestling. And then you're looking at your bench and you're like, we need help here. And, start challenging some things. You're learning about org management, org development, and working with people. Teamwork was always a value of yours because you'd been on teams, you understood that, and you put it to work. And so, it's amazing how we create our own luck. You were prepared, and you weren't preparing for that team captain position, but because you were
No,
you
it
were
was just
doing
there.
taking care of business, yeah, you're
Somebody
getting
had to step
mentors
up.
and you're moving up, and then your values to be a team leader or to have a team that actually works together, creates the opportunity. And it's interesting kind of the soup, all the ingredients of the soup to make a good soup. You've got to have all those pieces. And if you hadn't done the work in year 1 and 2 in college, what would have been, the opportunity really in your junior year? Well, it just opened up, and then having a great attitude and, building an actual team, a culture of teamwork. Um, that's pretty exciting to me. And I've always enjoyed our conversations because you're bringing people together. And I mean, we see that also like in Altek. You've got a great story there where you came in and really developed and focused and worked on the culture. And then, you even reaching out in your community with, the manufacturing alliance. So would you like to talk to either of those? Some of your experiences?
Uh, yeah, it was real similar at Altek. Minnesota was a real, a real good Minnesota. Just perhaps by perhaps by accident, turned out to be a really good training ground
Right.
for when I came into Altek in my mid to late 20s. Because Al, who had done a great job building the organization, running the organization, but it kind of
Right.
had the culture of the day, very similar to Jay's outlook, a little, top down, little on the military side, and so it very much mirrored what we had done in Minnesota from going from an organization where there's internal competition and people don't like people and there's a lot of
Right.
infighting and strategic political positioning and everything like that, and turn it into a real team of people that really care about each other, and
Right.
that love each other, and and the bond and the all the just the tight knit and the feelings that go along with that and the euphoria to be able to share a victory with a group of people that's larger than
Mm.
yourself. And just like Minnesota, it was a really easy sell.
Right.
You just walk into these places and it's like, instead of like everybody hating everybody and trying to get everybody else to quit and talking behind everybody else's back and being all dysfunctional, why don't we just like do the opposite and
Right.
and embrace each other and leverage the best that everybody has to offer, and
That's
get
so
the
good.
camaraderie and the you watch my back, I watch yours mentality, and the family, the tight knit family. And
Right.
in both places, it was just I don't really can't take much credit for it because it was just such an easy sell. If you're in this state and they're like, well, this is a state we could be in if we wanted to be, and they're like, that does sound a lot more fulfilling. I mean, you don't like have to sell it very much, you
Right.
know.
Right.
It's not like when we decided to go into aerospace probably 15 plus years ago in a aggressive way. That was a big sell. I mean, I had to like convince like everybody in the company that it's totally worth. It's probably been longer than 15 years, but it's totally worth the pain of getting the AS 9100 certification
Right.
and doing it. And they're like, and I don't know, I don't blah, 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 Boeing and this. But yeah, trying to sell people that are on like the opposite of a team,
Right.
old school, top down, competitive to everybody coming together. It's like selling raincoats in a rainstorm. I mean, it really wasn't that hard. So I
Wasn't that
can't say
hard?
like it wasn't that
But
novel of an idea.
right.
It was,
Right.
uh,
But you had the vision, you understood it, and yeah, and applying teamwork, that you learn in sports, which is so obvious. I mean, it's like when a team is working, you know when a team is not. Um, I mean, it makes you want to wring your hands sometimes. But
yeah,
and to
it's
apply
corporate America
successful
makes it
teamwork.
real difficult,
Right.
with the corporate America values. You don't really know. I mean, the only one that had it together back then was like the HP way, was pretty good, but nobody else really had figured that out at the time. And
Right.
but you can look at every winning sports team, and they all had it figured out.
Right.
And a lot of those are businesses, the pro sports. That's big money, but and those guys make big paychecks. But you see all the time in really good teams, uh, people taking pay cuts so that they can recruit new people to the team. You know,
Actually
taking
have a
less
budget.
money to stay
Very
on a
good.
team that they love and stuff like that. And those are the teams that win the championships.
Yeah, you're there to win.
Yeah,
To
it's
get
like,
involved, you seem to be
okay,
successful. I mean,
yeah, I mean, not, you can't put a dollar on everything, winning and being around a bunch of people that you love and have feel
right.
a cohesiveness and sense of purpose and belonging. You can't take the money with you.
Now, how
We
long have you been?
expect to be paid fairly, but
Right.
um, you know, anybody at Altek and including most of those pro sports can probably go somewhere else for a little bit more money and then go somewhere else for a little bit more money. But if you pay them fairly and give them a nice home and a lot of job satisfaction, they
Sure.
stick around. Our senior management teams filled with people that have been here between 20 and 40 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is so good. Well, and I think about it, you being a second generation, and then, you probably have some employees that are second generation. Their families have been
Oh
around.
yeah.
You've known their families for years, years and years.
Yeah.
What year
Well,
did you
our senior
what
vice
year did
president, Rick Taylor,
right,
um,
go
yeah, I
Rick.
knew him. This is his 40-year anniversary. And I remember him from high school,
Right.
and college and everything. And I came into the business in my mid 20s and took over as president in what was I think it was 2001 would have been was it was the same year George Bush Jr.
Okay.
George W.
George.
Was elected president for the first time. I just remember that because everybody was joking me like, "Oh, George W." And everything. So, and you know, Rick's been my brother in arms and right hand man for
Stellar
all
man.
those years, and especially coming in so young. There was other people, including Rick, but even today, everybody that works for me knows more than I do about what they do.
Right.
Engineering knows more about engineering, production knows more about production, sales knows more about sales, accounting knows more about accounting, marketing knows more about marketing, engineering knows more about engineering, and that wasn't any different when I came in my mid 20s, and
Right.
I'm a little smarter now, but not the smartest one here. I tap every one of those people. I trust them to do the right thing, and I trust them more than me because I know their heart's in the right
Right.
place and they know way more about
Right.
their job than I do. And I just try to get them to all work together like a nice team
Nice.
family. And then, but they have ultimate autonomy over their functions, and they
That's
overlap
amazing.
cross functionally pretty automatically. That's kind of they
Nice.
don't come to me; they just figure it out on their own, and makes it a lot easier for me to focus on strategic stuff. I don't get
Oh,
that
sure.
involved in the details every now and then.
Well, and I look back and look at some of those years, 2008 and 2020, um, and the companies that I've talked to that had a diverse industries that they're building for, and they had a culture, kind of what you describe, and having each other's backs and being friends and really, feeling the love, and those seem to be the companies that had an easy I hate to say easier time, but that they're able to navigate the storms, Um, because they don't have the stress of feeling like they're all alone in it. They're actually with a company of people that are committed to each other. And so, I just, yeah, it's kind of stunning to me. Do you have anything to say about the 2008 years and the 2020 years?
2001, 2008, 2020 years. Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, the 2001 downturn or whatever that was, the dot bomb, and then we had the economic crisis in 2009. We shifted gears real fast during those. Um, and it was the camaraderie that allows you to shift gears and adapt the organization quickly. And the reason is because everybody wants what's best for the organization. And there's a lot of differing opinions on how to get there, but everybody trusts that everybody has what's in the best interest of the organization. So you can quickly bring a team to consensus about what direction to head. And you got to have
Right,
a direction. You can't just
right,
shotgun your way out of an economic crisis. And so you're able to adapt really quick when everybody's in alignment. And the basic necessity is everybody likes working with each other. I'd dare to say
right.
loves working with each other. They like the company they work for, and they all want to succeed, and they all trust each other, and you can move very quickly to build a
It's good.
consensus and move
Right,
very fast with that. When you've got a whole bunch of people with dissension, well, if you just look at our government, they'll just sit there and argue for months. And those,
yeah,
when you need to be able to move in weeks.
right.
And both the 2001 and 2003 crisis we climbed out of in probably 1 to 2 years. This latest one with the
Mm,
COVID and the aerospace been a little bit more challenging, mostly because it seems like we're coming out when they ramp up. We've had like three ramp up, ramp downs. So like
wow,
ramp,
right.
oh no, put on the brakes, push everything out, and um, and we're still making a reasonable profit. Not like the good old days where we used to triple the industry standard for margins and
Right.
growth and things like that. I always like to measure against industry standards, but we're
You
doing
bet.
okay given that we've got so many eggs in the aerospace basket. Um,
Well,
so
I want to acknowledge some of that and also bring to the audience's attention. It's like, you may or may not feel it, but when those supply chains were disrupted in 2020 and people started moving around, a lot of the manufacturing businesses are built on relationships within each company. And all of a sudden, those relationships are broken because somebody moved jobs. And there was so much fluidity. It seemed like people were working, two, three, four times as hard just to keep connections, let alone actually producing and making a living. And so I just want to kind of put a shout out there for manufacturers such as yourself that have not had an easy go in the last 4 or 5 years. And this COVID thing, I mean, as a consumer, it's a little disruptive. I remember driving outside of restaurants in December and people are sitting outside under heaters,
yeah,
to have meals
uh,
and be together. And it was like, this
yeah,
is silly. That's disruptive for us, but it's like in the manufacturing world, holy cow, man, you guys have been through it. And the fact that you had multiple ramp ups up and it's like, when are we going to get to a nice steady growth again? And so,
yeah. Or
Mhm.
stability would just be nice because
Right,
it's pretty hard to be efficient when you're well. Steady growth is good, but this was breakneck growth.
right.
And then just to turn around 3 months later and have breakneck ramp down, and then a few months after that breakneck, and a lot of that was tied into the 737.
Right.
That's the Boeing's best selling aircraft. We
Sure.
produce a number of components for the 737 along with other aircraft, and yeah, it's been it's it's a good thing I got my Dramamine patch to keep me from getting seasick. You know,
So when you're selling into Boeing, you said there's some other companies. Are you talking about other just aerospace parts, aftermarket parts? You talking about main production in the actual aerospace manufacturing of the commercial airliners, for example? I know the aftermarket's a pretty significant, important market for AS9100 certified
Mhm.
products. And do you find yourself in both of those arenas?
Um, you know, we sell a little bit to Boeing. They're not a very big customer for us. We sell mostly to the tier ones.
Right,
Um, and have a pretty good diversification of tier ones that we service. Anything from ranging from uh, the overhead panel, the
right,
consumer panel that rides in the airplane. A lot of stuff inside the lavatory. We do the toilet bowls and the toilet lids, different lighting things, power supplies, sensors, um, structural
right,
members. So we're kind of scattered all throughout the aircraft, interior, exterior, mechanical, cosmetic. You know,
right.
uh,
No,
all
that's
over
really
the
good.
all
And
over different aircraft, different markets too, in terms of some defense and some space and things like that that balance it
and
out a little
and
bit.
when you're selling into a tier one, just for clarity for folks, selling into a tier one means that they usually are going to have the full component, um, and that they're selling directly into, say, a Boeing. And so Mike was actually building the many components that would make up one full unit, right? Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, we do a lot of sub assemblies though for the tier ones because we do. Well, we just got a lot of unique in-house
Right.
capabilities. We've got a whole mechanical and electronic assembly and testing department, painting, printing, finishing, EMR, IRFI shielding, and so we'll sell them a whole tested unit ready to go that they can just plug into whatever has to plug into and hands off to the
Right.
next step in the supply chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I did a tour some time ago, and I enjoyed seeing how the processes come, and you're not sending out to have certain finishing services done. You're doing everything right there in house.
Try to.
Pretty exhausting. Um,
Yeah, it's a lot more efficient. You don't got to handle it
right.
as much, and cut your lead times down. And yeah, it's
Sure.
it's nice. It's nice to be able to one stop shop everything.
So thank you, Mike, for your time here today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And folks, again, Marzetta from Altek in the Spokane, Washington area, a contract manufacturer into medical devices and aerospace. And they've been around for many years. You're going on your 50th anniversary, I believe, here in a couple of years. And so, they're really stayed and true and family friendly and really know how to build team culture with their organization. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope to have you back here soon.
Thanks, Dale.